Tonight, let's visit a sun-drenched coast where everything glitters and nothing matters quite as much as we pretend. A story of heat and honesty. No need to remember every detail. If your eyes grow heavy, that's fine. This story will be here, patient as the Mediterranean tide. This is about a man who couldn't cry at his mother's funeral. A man who told the truth and paid for it with his life. His name is Mirsault, a clerk in an office in Algiers. Today he receives a telegram that will change everything, though he doesn't know it yet. He will kill a man. On a beach under a blazing sun. But when they judge him, they'll blame him for something else entirely. The year is 1942. French Algeria. A place where Europe meets Africa, and the sun rules over everything with brutal indifference. Picture Algiers at midday. White buildings blazing against blue sky. The harbor shimmering below. Streets empty in the crushing afternoon heat. Mirsault reads the telegram again. Mother died. Funeral tomorrow. He walks to his boss's office and asks for 2 days off. His voice flat. The bus to Marengo takes 2 hours through flat, dusty country. Mirsault dozes against the window, watching the barren landscape slide past without thought. The nursing home at Marengo sits white and solitary in the hills. An old people's home run by the state. Where Mirsault's mother spent her final years. The director meets him in a cool, dim office. Offers condolences, explains arrangements. Mirsault notices the man's black tie, the dust on the filing cabinets. The vigil begins at nightfall. The coffin rests in a small room, screws already tightened. Bright electric lights buzz overhead. The air is thick and close. Old people from the home shuffle in to sit vigil. They arrange themselves on chairs around the coffin, nodding and whispering. Mirsault watches from across the room. One old man catches his attention. Thomas P.A. the caretaker, whispers, "He was your mother's special friend." The old man weeps openly, his shoulders shaking. The director asks if Mirsault wants the coffin opened. To see his mother one last time. Mirsault says no. The director seems surprised but doesn't argue. The caretaker brings coffee. Mirsault accepts, drinks it gratefully. Lights a cigarette. The old mourners watch him. He doesn't notice their disapproval. The night passes slowly. Mirsault drowses again. When dawn finally comes through the windows, he feels nothing but relief that the ordeal is ending. The funeral procession must begin early, before the heat becomes unbearable. They carry the coffin outside. The sun is already fierce. Mirsault squints against it. They walk the long road to the village cemetery. Old P.A. tries to keep up but falls behind, cutting through fields. Mirsault sees him stumbling in the distance. Mirsault notices everything except grief. The bright red geraniums on graves. The tar bubbling on the road. The blood-red earth. The harsh blue sky pressing down. At the graveside, the priest speaks words that wash over Mirsault like the heat itself. He hears sounds but not meaning. His head throbs from the sun. P.A. arrives at the grave just as they're lowering the coffin. He collapses against the iron fence, tears cutting tracks through the dust on his cheeks. When it ends, Mirsault feels only relief. The formalities are over. He shakes hands mechanically. His single thought is of his bed in Algiers, waiting for him. On the bus back to Algiers, Mirsault leans against the window again. The sea appears in the distance, glittering. He thinks about sleep, about tomorrow, about nothing. Tomorrow he will go swimming. Life will continue exactly as before. His mother is dead, and it changes nothing. The sun will rise indifferent. As always. Morning comes bright and ordinary. Mirsault wakes late in his small apartment, sunlight already harsh through the shutters. Saturday. The beach calls to him. At the beach, the water glitters like scattered diamonds. Mirsault swims out past the breakers, feeling the salt and sun on his skin. Pure physical pleasure. He spots a familiar face in the waves. Marie Cardona. She used to work as a typist in his office. Dark hair wet and shining, laughing at the cold water. They swim together, riding the swells. Marie is easy to be with. She doesn't ask difficult questions. The water holds them both, rocking gently, asking nothing. In the water, her body brushes against his. Meersalt feels the warmth of her through the cool sea. She looks at him and smiles. He smiles back. That evening, they go to a comedy film together. Marie laughs at the jokes, leaning against his shoulder. Meersalt watches her more than the screen. She comes back to his apartment. The night is warm. They leave the shutters open. The streetlights throw patterns on the ceiling. Words seem unnecessary. Sunday. Marie has gone. Meersalt stands on his balcony for hours, watching the street below. Families walking to church, young men in their best clothes, life passing. He watches the afternoon empty the streets. Shutters close against the heat. Then evening brings people out again. The young men whistle at passing girls. Routine. The day passes in observation. Meersalt eats cold meat standing by the window, smokes cigarettes, goes to bed early. Another week of work begins tomorrow. Monday at the office, the boss seems cooler than usual. Perhaps because of the funeral absence, Meersalt doesn't mind. He types letters, watches the clock, thinks of lunch. At C.A. Lesty's restaurant, the regulars offer condolences about his mother. Meersalt nods, thanks them. C.A. Lest gives him extra bread, the kindness of simple people. That evening on the stairs, Meersalt meets his neighbor Salamano, an old man with a mangy spaniel. They walk together every day, the man cursing, the dog cringing. Every day, Salamano beats the dog and calls it names. The dog whimpers and pulls at the leash. They've been doing this for 8 years, he tells Meersalt. Meersalt observes without judgment. The old man and his dog, trapped together. Neither can live without the other now. He notes it the way he notes the weather. Another neighbor appears, Raymond Sintis, stocky with a reputation. People say he lives off women. He asks Meersalt to come up for dinner. Wants to talk. Raymond's apartment smells of wine and cigarettes. Cheap furniture, dishes in the sink. He pours drinks, settles into his chair. Says he wants to be friends with Meersalt. Raymond talks and talks. He has a story to tell. A woman he kept. An Arab woman. He thought she loved him. But then he found out she was cheating. He beat her, Raymond admits. Beat her until she bled. The police came. Now her brother and his friends follow Raymond in the streets. Arabs, they want revenge. Raymond wants to hurt her more. But he needs help. He wants Meersalt to write a letter for him. A letter to lure her back. So he can punish her again. Meersalt agrees. Why not? He writes the letter Raymond dictates. Cruel words designed to wound. When it's done, Raymond beams. Calls Meersalt a true pal. They drink more wine. Raymond slaps Meersalt on the back. Now they're pals, he says. Real pals. Meersalt doesn't disagree. It doesn't matter much either way. Walking back to his room, Meersalt thinks about the evening. Raymond is probably a pimp. The letter will cause pain. These facts don't trouble him, they just are. Days blend into each other. Work lunch at C.A. Lesty's, evenings on the balcony. Sometimes Marie comes. They swim, make love, talk about nothing important. Summer deepen. One evening Marie asks the question, "Do you love me?" Meersalt considers. "Probably not," he says. The word doesn't mean much to him. She looks away. But she stays. His honesty seems to fascinate her even as it wounds. "Most men lie," she says. "At least you tell me the truth." Strange comfort. Later she asks about marriage. Would he marry her? Meersalt shrugs. If she wants. It doesn't matter to him one way or another. The same as everything else. Would you marry another woman who asked the same way? Marie presses. Yes, Meersalt admits, probably. He can't see why it matters. A marriage is a marriage. You're peculiar, Marie says finally. That's why I love you. And maybe why I'll never quite understand you. She kisses him anyway. They go inside. Weeks pass. One Saturday evening, screams erupt from Raymond's apartment. A woman's voice, then the sound of blows. The building listens through thin walls. No one moves. Raymond is beating his mistress again. This time the whole building hears. Someone must have called the police. Boots on the stairs. Loud knocking. Shouts to open up. The door opens. Raymond stands there with a cigarette, defiant. The policeman slaps him across the face. Hard. Raymond takes it, says nothing. The woman has vanished inside. Later, Raymond knocks on Meersalt's door. Needs a favor. Will Meersalt go to the police station tomorrow? Tell them the woman cheated first. Be his witness. Meersalt agrees, why not? At the police station the next day, he says what Raymond asked. The woman was unfaithful. Raymond had cause. The officer nods, writes it down. Raymond goes free with a warning. He pumps Meersalt's hand outside the station. True friend, he says. Now the Arabs will be twice as angry, but Raymond doesn't care. The woman's brother is Arab. Raymond sees him sometimes, following at a distance with friends. Dark eyes watching. Waiting for the right moment. The city feels different now. Meersalt notices nothing different in his own routine. Work, ca lesties, the beach on weekends. If Arabs follow Raymond, that's Raymond's problem. The sun still shines the same. Marie visits often now. They talk about the wedding. She wants to know when. Meersalt says whenever she likes, summer. Autumn, it makes no difference to him. Raymond invites them both to spend a Sunday at the beach. His friend Masson has a bungalow on the coast. A day of swimming and eating. Marie is excited. That same week, old Salamano's dog runs away. The old man wanders the neighborhood calling for it. His voice breaks. He's never sounded so lost, so human. Meersalt finds Salamano crying in the hallway. Invites him in. The old man sits in Meersalt's room and weeps. He got the dog after his wife died. He beat the dog because it reminded him of his wife, Salamano confesses. The same scabs she had at the end. Now both are gone. He's truly alone. Meersalt listens without judgment, mentions his mother. She had a dog too, at the nursing home. Had to give it up when she moved there. These things happen. Salamano leaves, still crying. Meersalt closes the door and thinks briefly about his mother. Her life in the nursing home. Then he goes to bed. Tomorrow is the beach. Sunday arrives bright and hot. Meersalt meets Marie at the bus stop. She wears a white dress with red flowers. They ride to the coast with Raymond. Masson's bungalow sits alone on a quiet stretch of coast. Simple wooden structure near the dunes. His wife has prepared lunch. Wine cooling in a bucket, paradised. Masson is a large, jovial man. His wife laughs easily. They make Meersalt feel welcome without effort. Marie charms them immediately. Everything seems light and good. Before lunch, they swim. The water is cold and perfect. Meersalt floats on his back, watching the sky. Marie splashes him, laughing. For a moment, everything is beautiful. Lunch is long and lazy. Fresh fish, bread, wine that never seems to run out. The sun climbs higher. Conversation slows. Meersalt feels heavy with food and heat. After the meal, Meersalt, Raymond, and Masson walk along the beach. The sand burns underfoot. The sun presses down like a weight. They squint against the glare. In the distance, two figures appear. Arabs. Walking toward them along the waterline. Raymond tenses. It's them, he says. The brother and his friend, they found him. The groups meet by a cluster of rocks where a small spring trickles down to the sea. The Arabs crouch in the shade. One draws a knife. It glints in the sun. Raymond steps forward. The Arab with the knife rises. They face each other. Raymond swings. The Arab slashes. Blood appears on Raymond's arm and mouth. Masson jumps in. The Arabs retreat suddenly, running back down the beach. Raymond stands bleeding, cursing. His arm drips red onto the white sand. They help him back to the bungalow. At the bungalow, the women bandage Raymond's wounds. He says he wants to go back. Finish it. Meersalt takes Raymond's revolver from him, puts it in his own pocket. Meersalt tells Raymond he'll only shoot if the Arab attacks again. Otherwise just words. Raymond reluctantly agrees to rest. But the afternoon feels ruined. The air is thick. The bungalow feels suffocating. The women's voices grate on Meersalt's nerves. He walks back out onto the beach alone. The sun hits him like a blow. He keeps walking. The heat is unbearable now. The sand seems to pulse with it. Meersalt's head throbs. His clothes stick to his skin. He walks toward the rocks where the spring is. He reaches the rocks. The spring still trickles, promising cool water. But there in the shade, the Arab sits alone. His friend has gone. Just the two of them now. Mirsalt could turn back, should turn back. But the sun pushes him forward. The shade looks so cool. The spring sounds like relief. He takes another step. The sun is a physical weight now, pressing on his skull, making his eyes ache. The whole sky seems to crack open and pour fire down. His head pounds. The Arab shifts. His hand moves to his belt. The knife comes out. The blade catches the sun and throws light directly into Mirsalt's eyes. Blinding. Burning. The light off the knife is like the light at his mother's funeral. The same burning glare. Sweat runs into Mirsalt's eyes. His finger tightens on the trigger in his pocket. He pulls the trigger. One shot. The sound cracks the silence of the beach like breaking the sky. The Arab falls. It's over. But Mirsalt doesn't stop. 4 more shots into the motionless body.
1, 2,
3, 4. Each one like knocking on the door of unhappiness. The day shatters. Everything changes. Mirsalt stands alone over the body. The sun still blazes. The sea still glitters. Nothing in nature has changed. But he knows his balance is destroyed forever. He doesn't run. Doesn't hide the gun. He walks slowly back toward the bungalow. Each step on the hot sand. Knowing what he's done. Feeling nothing particular. The police come quickly. Someone has heard the shots. Mirsalt offers no resistance. Says nothing. They put him in a car. The beach disappears behind. Summer ends. At the police station, questions begin. Why 5 shots? Mirsalt can't explain. The first was reflex. The other 4. He has no answer. They write that down. A lawyer is appointed. Young Ernest, already troubled. He asks Mirsalt about his feelings. His mother. Did he grieve? Mirsalt says he loved her, he supposes. The lawyer warns him. The prosecution will use the funeral against him. The coffee, the cigarettes, the dry eyes. They'll say he has no heart. Mirsalt shrugs. The examining magistrate calls Mirsalt to his office. A middle-aged man who fidgets with a silver crucifix. He wants to understand. What kind of man kills without remorse? Do you believe in God? The magistrate asks. Mirsalt says no. The magistrate leans forward, brandishing the crucifix. Everyone believes. He insists. His hands tremble. Mirsalt feels nothing at the speech. He's hot. The room is stuffy. He wishes he could have a cigarette. These thoughts seem more real than the magistrate's passion. The magistrate calls him Monsieur Antichrist after that. Says it almost sadly. Mirsalt doesn't mind. It's just a name. He has 11 months before trial. Time stretches ahead. Prison becomes his world. A small stone cell. High window with iron bars. A cot, a bucket, blank walls. He learns to sleep during the day and think at night. At first he misses cigarettes terribly. Then women. Then swimming in the sea. Gradually these desires fade. He learns to fill hours with memory. Walking through his apartment in his mind. Marie comes to visit once. Through a glass partition, surrounded by other prisoners and visitors shouting to be heard. She wears a striped dress. She tries to smile. She asks if he has hope. Mirsalt says yes. He supposes she asks what he thinks about. He says her, sometimes, the sea. She nods and leaves without kissing him goodbye. After that visit, she stops coming. Letters arrive sometimes, but grow shorter. Mirsalt understands. He's already become someone from another world. The living have other things to do. Months pass. Mirsalt grows thin. His beard grows long. He marks days by the quality of light through the bars. Morning blue, evening gold. Night black. Time has a texture now. He reads an old newspaper scrap over and over. A story about a man killed by his family, who didn't recognize him after years away. The irony fascinates Mirsalt. Sometimes he catches sight of his reflection in a tin plate. The face that stares back seems like a stranger's. He smiles at it experimentally. The stranger smiles back empty. The seasons change outside his window. He can tell by the angle of light, the temperature of air. Summer comes again. The anniversary of his crime. Soon they will judge him. His lawyer visits one last time before trial. Looks worried. The case against Mirsalt has become about his character, not his crime. They will judge his soul, not his act. They shave Mirsalt for court. Give him a suit that doesn't quite fit. When he looks in the mirror, He sees a man about to be judged. Not himself, someone else entirely. The night before trial, Meerschault lies awake in his cell, thinking not about guilt or innocence. About how strange it all is. A man kills, society gathers to discuss why. The courtroom waits. The spectators. The journalists, the judge and jury. Tomorrow they will all watch him trying to understand. He already knows they won't. Neither can he. Sleep comes eventually. In the morning, guards will lead him to the dock. Meerschault dreams of the beach, the sun on the water. Marie's laugh. Before everything changed. Dawn comes through the bars. Guards open the cell door. Meerschault stands. Steps forward into the corridor. Toward the courtroom. Toward judgment. Toward whatever comes next. He's ready. 11 months since the beach. Since the sun cracked open and poured fire. Since 5 shots changed everything. Now 12 strangers will decide if he lives or dies. It begins. The heat in the courtroom is already oppressive. Ceiling fans turn slowly, stirring thick air. Spectators fan themselves with papers. Summer has followed Meerschault to his judgment day. Meerschault scans the crowd, notices Marie in a back row. She looks older now, tired. He sees C.A. Lest from the restaurant. Raymond is absent, perhaps wisely, too much to explain. The prosecutor rises, begins his opening statement, speaks of premeditation, of cold blood, of a man who could bury his mother and go swimming the next day. The case takes shape. Meerschault listens. The words are about him but seem to describe someone else. A monster, an antichrist. Someone who feels nothing. He wonders if they're right. The trial has truly begun. The trial unfolds like a play Meerschault has wandered into by accident. Witnesses take the stand, speak of him, about him, never quite to him. He watches, detached. The director of the nursing home takes the stand first, speaks in measured tones. Yes, Meerschault seemed calm at the vigil. Didn't weep, drank coffee, smoked cigarettes, dozed off. The prosecutor presses. Did Meerschault want to see his mother's body? No, the director confirms. He refused. The courtroom murmurs. Meerschault feels the tide shifting against him already. The caretaker from the nursing home confirms everything. The coffee, the cigarettes, the sleeping. He seems apologetic, as if sorry to say it, but he says it anyway. Facts are facts. Thomas P.A. takes the stand next. The old man who loved Meerschault's mother. He can barely speak for weeping. Did Meerschault cry at the funeral? No, not once. P.A. is certain. Meerschault wants to explain. He did love his mother. He just couldn't perform it. Grief isn't measurable. But no one asks him to explain. They're building something without him. The prosecutor connects the dots for the jury. A man who buries his mother without tears. Goes swimming the next day. Takes a woman to a comedy. What kind of soul is this? C.A. Lest takes the stand for the defense. The restaurant owner fidgets nervously. Calls Meerschault a friend. A good customer. Asks what his crime was. Misfortune, he says, just misfortune. Meerschault feels something move in his chest. Touched by C.A. Lest's awkward faith in him. For a moment he wants to cry. But the moment passes. The trial continues. Marie is called to testify. She enters looking pale, wearing a modest dark dress. Her eyes find Meerschault's briefly. She tries to smile. The prosecutor is already rising. The prosecutor asks about the day after the funeral. What did they do? Marie hesitates. Swimming, she admits. And then, a comedy. The courtroom gasps audibly. And that night, the prosecutor presses. Marie's face flushes. She spent the night with him, she admits. The day after his mother's burial. The prosecutor lets the silence do its work. Marie breaks down. It wasn't like that, she cries. He's not what you're making him. But her words dissolve into tears. Meerschault wishes he could reach her. The distance is infinite now. Raymond is called next. Admits to provoking the Arabs. To beating his mistress, to asking Meerschault to write that letter. With each admission, Meerschault sinks deeper into the mud. The prosecutor calls the letter a pimp's tool. Says Meerschault helped Raymond lure a woman for beating. Complicity. Moral bankruptcy. The jury writes notes. Meerschault is more than a killer now. Salamano appears briefly. Speaks of Meerschault's kindness when his dog was lost. The one person who listened. But kindness to an old man cannot outweigh what they believe he is now. Why did Meursault put his mother in a home? The prosecutor asks the courtroom. Because he was tired of her. Because she was inconvenient. The defense objects, overruled. Meursault tries to explain. He couldn't afford a nurse. They had nothing left to say to each other. She was happier with people her age, but explanations sound like excuses. The prosecutor rises for his summation. This is what he's been waiting for. The performance of his career. He buttons his robe, clears his throat, begins to speak of the human soul. He speaks of Meursault's intelligence. His education. This makes his crime worse, not better. An intelligent man who feels nothing. Who could bury his mother with a criminal's heart? Look at his face, the prosecutor tells the jury. Do you see remorse, regret, anything human? I see nothing. An abyss. This man has no soul. Society must protect itself. I ask for his head, the prosecutor concludes. Not lightly, but necessarily. He killed a man. But more than that, he murdered the very idea of human feeling. He must. Meursault's lawyer rises to respond. His defense sounds weak even to Meursault. He speaks in first person. I did this, I felt that. As if he is the defendant. Meursault stops listening. Watches a fly on the balustrade. Thinks about the heat. His attention drifts to the window, the afternoon light. His life is being decided without him. The judge calls a recess. Meursault is taken to a small room, given water. A guard offers him a cigarette, small kindness. The first human gesture in hours, he accepts. He thinks of Marie, her face when she testified, the shame they forced on her. For loving him, for being honest about it, he feels guilt for that. Only that. The jury retires to deliberate. Meursault waits. The courtroom buzzes with speculation. He watches people talk about him, gesture toward him, like an animal in a zoo. Waiting, Meursault remembers evenings in Algiers. Walking home from work. The smell of roasting meat from cafes. Street vendors calling. Ordinary life that seems like another world now. The jury returns. Faces unreadable. They take their seats. The foreman stands. In the silence, Meursault can hear his own heart beating. Or imagines he can. Guilty. Of premeditated murder. The word drops like a stone into still water. Ripples of reaction spread through the courtroom. Meursault stands very still, processing, failing to process. The judge pronounces sentence. Public decapitation in the name of the French people. The guillotine. Meursault will have his head cut off in a public square. That's what they want. The judge asks if Meursault has anything to say. No, nothing. What is there to say? He killed a man now. They will kill him. An exchange. A transaction. Complete. Guards lead him out. Past Marie sobbing in her seat. Past C.A. Lest looking stricken. Past the prosecutor with his satisfied expression. Back to his cell. To wait. Back in his cell, the reality settles slowly. Death sentence. Execution. His head and body separated by a blade. He lies on his cot and thinks about the mechanics. He's never seen one. Imagines the blade. The speed. The certainty, no chance of escape, no margin for error. The machine is designed to be infallible. Has anyone ever escaped the guillotine? Meursault wonders. The blade falls. No second chances. The condemned must climb steps and participate in his own death. That troubles him. There's an appeal, of course. His lawyer files papers. Maybe a technicality, maybe mercy. Hope becomes another way to fill the hours. Another way to get through each day. But hope means fear. Every dawn becomes a test. Executions happen at dawn. If the sun rises without footsteps in the corridor, Meursault has won another day. Dawn comes, pale light through bars. No footsteps. Relief floods through him. Then shame at the relief, then nothing. Another day of waiting begins. The sun rises indifferent. Days pass. Weeks perhaps. Time moves strangely in the cell. Meursault thinks about his mother now. More than before. Begins to understand something about her final years. She took a fiancé at the nursing home. Thomas P.A. Res. That seemed strange before. Now Meursault understands, near death you grasp at life. Any life. Any warmth. She must have felt free, Meursault thinks. Ready to live everything again. so close to death that nothing mattered anymore. And nothing mattering was its own kind of freedom. No one had the right to judge her for taking another man at her age, for wanting to live, and perhaps, Meersault thinks, no one has the right to judge him either. One evening, without warning, the chaplain enters his cell. Meersault has refused to see him 3 times, but the priest has come anyway, uninvited, determined. The priest sits without asking, speaks of God's forgiveness, of eternal life beyond death, of hope for the soul even when the body is doomed. Meersault listens, irritated. What does Meersault see when he stares at the wall? The chaplain asks. Meersault says Marie's face sometimes. The priest presses. Nothing beyond. No hope of heaven. The chaplain persists. How can Meersault face death without hope? Meersault says every man faces death. That's the one certainty. Why pretend otherwise? The priest seems wounded. But God's mercy, the chaplain insists. Meersault interrupts. He has no time for things that don't exist. He's not sure about God, but he's sure about death. That's enough. The priest tries another approach, speaks of sin, of guilt. Surely Meersault feels guilty. Meersault considers. Yes, he's guilty. But what difference does feeling guilty make? The man is still dead. Something breaks in Meersault. The chaplain's certainty, his pity, his assumption that Meersault needs saving. Anger rises like heat from sand. He grabs the priest's cassock, shouts. Nothing matters, Meersault shouts. None of it matters. Not God, not the afterlife, not the priest's prayers. Everything is equal in the face of death, don't you understand? What difference how you live? Meersault demands. Raymond's life or C.A. Lesty's life, they end the same way. Dead, gone. The same darkness waiting for everyone. Prayers won't change that. Marie's kiss, any woman's kiss, it's all the same in the end. The priest's prayers won't outlast him either. Everyone dies. Everything ends. Why pretend otherwise? Why lie? The guards pull Meersault back. The chaplain flees. The cell door slams. Silence returns. Meersault stands in the middle of the cell, breathing hard. Something has emptied out of him. He lies down on his cot. The anger is gone. In its place a strange calm. He has said everything he believes, screamed it into a priest's face. There's nothing left to hide. Night has fallen. Through the bars, stars appear. The same stars that have always been there. Before Meersault. After him, indifferent to his existence. Beautiful because of that indifference. Smells drift through the window. Summer night. Salt from the distant sea. Earth cooling after hot day. The same smells from his childhood. From his mother's arms, perhaps. He thinks about his mother again. Really thinks about her. Not the funeral, not the vigil, but who she was, how she lived. The silence they shared, the love underneath. She understood, he realizes. The indifference of the world, the freedom in accepting it. That's why she could take a fiancé at 70. She had stopped pretending. Meersault feels ready now. Ready for whatever comes, not resigned. Something more active than that, open. He has opened himself to the gentle indifference of the world. It feels like brotherhood. The world doesn't care about him, has never cared. And that's fine. That's perfect. In a universe without meaning, we're free to make our own. Or not. Either way is honest. Morning will come. Execution or another day. Sun will rise either way. Meersault has stopped caring which. Both options are part of the same truth. Life ends, that's all. If they come for him, he hopes for a crowd. Many spectators. Hopes they greet him with cries of hatred. At least that would be human. At least that would be feeling something. The stars fade as light grows. Another dawn without footsteps. Meersault is still alive, still thinking. Still feeling the night air on his skin. It's enough, it has to be. He was happy before all this. Swimming in the sea. Walking the evening streets. Marie's warmth beside him. He can see that happiness clearly now, from the other side. Strangely, despite everything. Happy to have lived, happy to have felt the sun, happy even to face the end knowing who he is, no lies, no performance. Outside his window, Algiers wakes up. He can hear distant sounds. Carts on cobblestones, voices calling, dogs barking, life continuing without him, as it always did, as it always will. Somewhere out there, Marie might be waking, might be thinking of him, or might have moved on. Both possibilities are acceptable. Love doesn't require response to be real. The sea still glitters beyond the city. Meersalt can't see it from his cell, but he knows it's there. Waves rising and falling as they have since before humans existed. The beach where he killed the Arabs still exists. Sun still beats down on those rocks. Water still trickles from that spring. The world healed over his crime without noticing. And soon, Meersalt thinks the world will heal over him too. His cell will hold someone else. His name will fade. And that's fine. That's how it should be. He lived as himself. Didn't pretend feelings he didn't have. Refused to perform grief or love or remorse on demand. They're killing him for that honesty. He accepts the price. The absurdity is clear to him now. Life has no inherent meaning. Death comes for everyone. In between, we make choices. He made his. Others judged them. That's all there is. Society needed him to cry at the funeral, to perform regret for the killing, to believe in God and beg forgiveness. He couldn't. Wouldn't. And they couldn't forgive that. But Meersalt forgives them. They're afraid. Afraid of his honesty. Afraid of what it means about their own performances. Their own lies. He was a mirror they couldn't look into. The sun is fully up now. Another day his last. Or one of many remaining, he doesn't know. And he's found he doesn't need to know. The present moment is enough. He hears footsteps in the corridor, tensing momentarily, then relaxing. Just guards changing shift. Not yet. Not today, he breathes. Continues. Lives. What will he do with this day? Think. Remember. Feel the sun move across his cell. Count the scratches on the wall. Simple things. Human things. Alive things. The Arab he killed had a name. A mother, friends. A life. Meersalt doesn't know any of it. Took it all with 5 pulls of a trigger. That weight is real. He doesn't know if he's sorry. The word seems too simple for what happened. The sun, the knife. The moment. Regret doesn't change anything. But acknowledgement does something. He was not a monster before the beach. Just a man who felt things differently. After the beach, he became what they needed him to be. Monster, Antichrist. Stranger. The stranger. Yes. That's what he's always been, strange to others. Sometimes strange to himself. But never dishonest, never fake. That's the one thing he can claim. Guards bring his meal. Bread, soup, water. He eats without thinking about it. The body wants to live. Even when the mind has made peace with death, biology is stubborn. The day passes. Light shifts across his cell. Morning to noon to afternoon. He watches it like he once watched the street from his balcony. Observing, present content. Evening comes. Another night ahead. More stars. More darkness. More hours between him and whatever dawn brings. He welcomes it. Every moment is a gift now, even waiting. He thinks of all the sunsets he didn't notice before. Walking home from work. Thinking about dinner. About Marie. About nothing. Missing the light show every evening. Not anymore. The colors fade. Night claims the sky. Stars emerge one by one. Meersalt names the ones he knows. Invents names for the ones he doesn't. A private astronomy. Camus once said we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Pushing his boulder forever. Finding meaning in the meaningless task. Meersalt understands that now. You choose your happiness. Or you don't. He is Sisyphus now. Each day pushing the boulder of hope up the hill. Each night letting it roll back down. And each morning starting again. Happy enough, honest at least. Sleep comes eventually. Deep and dreamless. The body giving itself the rest it needs. Whether or not there's a tomorrow. That's trust in the universe, or surrender to it. Perhaps execution. Perhaps another day of light and shadow and memory. Perhaps more time to think, to feel, to be present. Either way, the story continues. Until it doesn't. Until the footsteps come. Until the blade falls. But until then Meersalt lives, fully. Finally. The stranger who became himself at the end of all things. That is the story of the stranger. A man who killed another man. Who couldn't cry at his mother's funeral. Who refused to pretend. And found himself on the way to death. But also found himself. Truly, without lies or performance. In accepting the absurdity of existence, he became free, free of hope and fear alike, free to simply be. The novel ends in his cell. We don't see the execution, don't need to. What matters is the moment of understanding, the acceptance, the strange, absurd happiness he finds. Camus leaves us there. With Meursault waiting, with his strange peace, with the question of what it means to live honestly in a universe that doesn't care. That's the gift. The story asks, what do we owe each other? What performances does society require? And what happens when someone refuses to play along? Heavy questions, no easy answers. Meursault was not a good man by most standards. He killed, he was cold. He failed at human connection, but he was honest, terrifyingly honest. And that honesty illuminates something. It illuminates our own dishonesty, our performances, the feelings we pretend to have, the rituals we go through. Meursault's failure is a mirror. What it reflects depends on who's looking. And the sun, always the sun, the great indifferent force pressing down on everything, making thought difficult, making violence almost inevitable. Nature doesn't care about human morality. The beach remains, the sea continues. Every day the sun rises over Algiers and sets again. People swim and eat and love and die. Meursault becomes one more story among thousands. But his questions persist. What is an authentic life? Can we live without performance? What do we owe to the dead? To the living? To ourselves? The novel keeps asking. That's why we still read it. 80 years later, in dozens of languages. Because Meursault's strangeness touches something in us. Something we recognize, something we might fear. The capacity for indifference lives in all of us. For going through motions. For not feeling what we're supposed to feel. Meursault just refused to hide it. That was his crime, and his gift. To show us ourselves. To ask uncomfortable questions. To suggest that maybe, just maybe, authenticity matters more than performance, even if it costs everything. So the story ends. Not with execution but with acceptance. Not with despair but with strange joy. Meursault, the stranger, finally at home in the indifferent universe. Perfectly alone. Perfectly free. The Mediterranean still gleams. The sun still burns. Algiers still hums with life and death and everything between. And somewhere in that city, the story waits for someone new to find it. That was The Stranger by Albert Camus. Published in 1942. A slim book that contains worlds. A simple story that asks impossible questions. A gift from one honest man to all of us. Thank you for spending this time with Meursault. With his strange journey. His sunlit crime. His prison philosophy. Whether you drifted or stayed awake, you traveled somewhere tonight. Now let's step back from the cell. From Algiers. From 1942. Let's talk about the man who created this stranger. Albert Camus. His life. His legacy. Albert Camus was born on November 7, 1913, in a small town called Mondovi in French Algeria. His father was a poor farm worker. His mother could barely hear. His father, Lucien, was killed in the Battle of the Marne in 1914. Albert was less than a year old. He never knew his father, only a photograph remained. His mother, Catherine, moved the family to Algiers. To her mother's apartment in the poor Belcourt neighborhood. 2 rooms for grandmother, mother, 2 boys, and an uncle. They had almost nothing. Catherine Camus worked as a cleaning woman. She spoke little because she could barely hear. Young Albert grew up in silence, watching his mother scrub floors for rich families across town. Picture young Albert running through the streets of Belcourt. Barefoot, like all the poor kids. Playing with Arab and French children alike. The sun was democracy, everyone shared the heat. His grandmother was a harsh woman. She ruled the tiny apartment with an old horsewhip. When Albert misbehaved, she beat him. When he cried, she beat him harder. He learned not to cry. But school offered escape. And there, a teacher named Louis Germain noticed the brilliant boy from Belcourt. Germain saw something special. He made sure Albert could continue his education. Germain tutored Albert for free, helped him win a scholarship to the Lycée. When Camus won the Nobel Prize decades later, he dedicated his acceptance speech to this teacher. never forgot. At 17, everything changed again. Camus collapsed during a football match. Tuberculosis, the disease that killed millions. In 1930, there was no cure. He nearly died that year. He survived, but his lungs were damaged forever. No more football. No teaching career, which required health certification. The disease closed doors, but it opened others. It gave him urgency. Facing death so young taught him something. Life was absurd. It could end any moment. But that made it precious. Every breath, every sunset, every swim in the sea meant more now. He turned to writing, to theater, founded a theater company with friends, acted, directed, adapted plays. The stage taught him about performance and authenticity, about masks people wear. He became a journalist too, wrote for the Alger Republicain newspaper, covered poverty, injustice, the suffering of Arab workers. He saw Algeria's inequalities clearly. They troubled him deeply. But the Mediterranean also shaped him. Swimming in the sea almost daily, feeling the sun on his skin. For Camus, the body mattered as much as the mind. Pleasure was philosophy. Unlike the Parisian intellectuals he would later know, Camus was a man of the senses. He played football until his illness, loved women, loved food, loved the warmth of afternoon sun. In 1939, he began writing The Stranger. War was coming. France was about to fall. The world was becoming absurd in ways beyond even Camus's imagination. He finished the book in May 1940, the same month Germany invaded France. As Camus typed the final pages, his country was collapsing. The timing seems impossible now. The book was published in 1942, in occupied Paris. Under German censorship, somehow it slipped through, and readers recognized something immediately. Truth in the strangest form. The novel caused a sensation. Here was a new kind of character. Not a hero. Not quite a villain. Just a man who couldn't pretend. Readers saw themselves in his honesty. Meanwhile, Camus joined the French resistance. Edited an underground newspaper called Combat. Anonymous articles calling for courage, for justice, for continued resistance. He risked his life for words. Think about that paradox. A man writing about meaninglessness was risking his life for meaning. A philosopher of absurdity fighting for justice. Camus saw no contradiction. Life demanded both truths. The same year The Stranger appeared, Camus published The Myth of Sisyphus. His philosophical essay, asking the most important question, is life worth living despite its absurdity? His answer, yes. Sisyphus, condemned to roll a boulder up a hill forever. Each time it rolls back down. Each time he starts again. Camus asks us to imagine him happy, finding meaning in the struggle itself. Meursault is Sisyphus in modern dress, pushing against a society that demands performance, finding his own truth at the bottom of each failed attempt to conform, choosing authenticity over comfort. After the war, Camus became famous. Existentialism was the philosophy of liberated Europe. Young people flocked to cafes to discuss Sartre. Camus. Ideas felt like salvation. Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre were friends at first, fellow travelers in absurdity, but their paths would diverge. Sartre embraced political ideology. Camus distrusted all systems that claimed total truth. The break came publicly in 1952. Sartre's journal attacked Camus's book The Rebel, called him a bourgeois moralist. The friendship ended. Two visions of commitment at war. Camus refused to justify violence in the name of progress, refused to excuse Soviet crimes because they served socialism. This made him enemies on the left. He accepted the isolation. Meanwhile, Algeria burned. The independence movement grew violent. Camus loved Algeria but saw injustice in colonialism. He was torn. His mother still lived in Algiers. Violence threatened her street. When asked to choose sides, absolutely, Camus said, if forced between justice and his mother, he'd choose his mother. Critics called him a coward. He called it human. The argument continues. Let's step back further. To understand The Stranger, we need to understand Algeria. 1830, France invaded, began colonizing, took land from Arabs and Berbers, called it civilization. Over a century, French settlers came, called themselves Pieds Noirs, feet in black earth. They built a European society on African land. Camus's family were Pieds Noirs. Poor ones, but still part of the system. Arabs had fewer rights than French citizens. Couldn't vote equally. Couldn't own the best land. Were subjects, not citizens. The young journalist Camus wrote about this, called it injustice. But he also loved Algeria. The sea, the sun, the streets of his childhood. Home isn't chosen. He couldn't simply denounce the place that made him. Complexity, not simplicity. Critics have long noted the Arab victim in The Stranger has no name. No inner life. He exists only to die. Is this Camus's blindness to colonial violence a valid question? Later in life, Camus acknowledged his limitations, saw how his upbringing blinded him to certain truths. The Stranger isn't a complete picture of Algeria. It's a picture of a certain Frenchman's alienation. But Meursault's indifference is the point, not an endorsement. He treats everyone the same way his mother, Marie, the Arab. The novel shows disconnection, doesn't celebrate it. The son is blamed for the murder, not race, not politics. Nature's indifference drives the killing. The absurdist message transcends the colonial setting, even if it doesn't erase it. The courtroom becomes a theater of social hypocrisy. They try Meursault for not crying, not for killing. Society's need for performance is the real subject, universal, not merely colonial. The Stranger asks questions that transcend its time and place. What is an authentic life? Who decides what's normal? Why must we perform feelings we don't have? These questions remain. In 1957, Camus won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Second youngest winner ever at 44. The Swedish Academy praised his clear-sighted earnestness illuminating human conscience. In his acceptance speech, Camus spoke of the writer's duty to serve truth and freedom, to never serve those who make history, but to serve those who suffer history. Powerful words. He mentioned his teacher Louis Germain, the man who saw a poor boy's potential. Camus never forgot where he came from. Fame didn't erase Belcourt. Success didn't cancel suffering. He mentioned his mother too, the cleaning woman who could barely hear, whose silence taught him to watch and listen, who never read his books but gave him everything. 3 years later, on January 4, 1960, Camus died. A car accident on a French country road. He was 46 years old. The unused train ticket was found in his pocket. He had planned to take the train, changed his mind at the last moment, accepted a ride from his publisher instead. A random choice. An absurd death for the philosopher of absurdity. The news shocked the world. Cut down in his prime. Still writing. Still questioning. Still searching for truth. A manuscript of an unfinished autobiographical novel was found in the wreckage. Sartre, his former friend and rival, wrote a moving tribute, called Camus's death a scandal. Said he represented in our time the current form of morality and its conflicts. Even enemies mourned. The Stranger lived on without its creator, translated into dozens of languages, read by millions. Each new generation discovers Meursault and recognizes something in his strange honesty. The book doesn't age. Young people especially connect with Meursault, his refusal to fake feelings, his alienation from social expectations. Teenagers have been finding themselves in his strangeness for 80 years now. The book's famous opening line has been debated endlessly. Mother died today, or perhaps yesterday. Different translations capture different tones. Each word has been weighed and questioned. Maman versus mother. The French word is intimate, a child's word. Even in that opening, Meursault reveals tenderness he can't express. He's not cold. He's inarticulate about what matters. The Stranger has been adapted many times. Most famously, Visconti's 1967 film starring Marcello Mastroianni. The Italian actor captured Meursault's beautiful emptiness, his passive drift through disaster. Musicians have responded to the novel too. The Cure's Robert Smith read it as a teenager in England. It haunted him, shaped his understanding of alienation and beauty intertwined. Writers have grappled with the book's limitations too. In 2013, Algerian author Kamel Daoud published The Meursault Investigation, a novel that gives the Arab victim a name, Moussa, a voice, a family. Dowd's novel doesn't reject Camus. It completes him, shows what he couldn't or wouldn't see. The victim's brother narrates, asking, "Who was the man who died on that beach?" This is how literature lives, through response, through argument, through continuation. Camus started a conversation that others carry on. The stranger keeps generating new strangers, new questions. Today the stranger remains on school reading lists worldwide. Teachers assign it, students resist it or embrace it. Either way, they encounter Mirsalt's strangeness, and something in them responds. Scholars debate endlessly. Is Mirsalt a hero or a monster? Neither, probably. He's a mirror. What you see in him says more about you than about him. That's his power. Camus once called Mirsalt the only Christ we deserve in this era. A man crucified for refusing to lie, martyred for honesty. Strange saint of authenticity in age of performance. What's Camus's legacy then? A body of work that refuses easy comfort, that looks absurdity in the face and says yes, and still we must live, still we must love, still we must resist. He gave us permission to question, to doubt, to feel uncomfortable with easy answers, to live with contradiction. Not nihilism but engaged absurdism, fighting without illusions, loving without guarantees. He reminds us that we don't have to perform grief we don't feel, don't have to fake emotions on demand. But he also reminds us honesty has costs, authenticity isn't free. The Mediterranean Camus loved still glitters. The sun still burns over Algiers. The beach where Mirsalt killed still exists somewhere, probably built over now, but the story carries the place forward. Camus is buried in Lourmarin, a village in southern France. Simple grave, near lavender fields, far from Algeria, which wouldn't have him back, exile even in death. But his words travel to Tokyo and Sao Paulo and New York and Cairo. Everywhere people ask, what does it mean to live honestly? Mirsalt shows them one answer, difficult but true. And every year, new translations appear. New scholars write new analyses. New readers discover Mirsalt for the first time, feel that shock of recognition, see themselves in the stranger. That's the legacy. Not easy answers but good questions. Not comfort but clarity. Not certainty but courage. Camus and Mirsalt, teacher and creation, offering strange gifts to willing readers. So ends our context. The man who wrote the book, the world that shaped him, the arguments his work sparked, the readers who keep returning, the questions that never quite get answered. The sun that killed Mirsalt still rises every morning. The indifferent universe still turns. But somewhere tonight, someone is reading about a man who couldn't cry, and understanding something new. Camus would have liked that, perhaps. His book traveling without him. Finding readers he never knew. Sparking questions he never imagined. That's what literature does when it truly lives. Now the hour grows late. We've traveled far together. From Mirsalt's cell to Camus's grave. From Algiers beach to Nobel stage. Time to begin winding down, to rest. The Mediterranean rests too at night. Waves slow their rhythm. Stars emerge over the water. The same stars Mirsalt saw from his cell. The same indifferent beauty. Somewhere Camus sleeps in his Lourmarin grave. Untroubled by interpretation. Beyond argument and praise. At rest with the earth he once walked. With the questions he left behind. And somewhere Mirsalt waits in his fictional cell. Forever at that moment of understanding. Forever facing stars through bars. His story suspended, never quite ending. Always about to begin again. That's what stories give us. Moments preserved, questions kept alive, company in the dark hours. When you're alone with thoughts, a book can be a friend. Mirsalt, strange friend. Maybe you knew all this before, maybe some was new. Either way, thank you for listening. For spending this time with Mirsalt and Camus. For letting their questions become yours for a while. The context is complete now. Author and world and legacy. What remains is just the wind down. The gentle drift toward sleep. The final images before we say goodnight. Let the dates and facts fade now. 1913 and 1960. Algeria and France. Sartre and Sisyphus. Let them settle like sand through fingers. Keep what sticks. Release what doesn't. What matters is simpler. A man who couldn't cry, a son that pushed too hard. A society that demanded performance. A writer who told the truth. A reader who listened tonight. That's enough to carry with you. Into sleep. Into tomorrow. Into whatever comes next. A story that asked questions. A man who refused to lie. A world that keeps turning. Soon we'll say goodnight properly. But first, a few more quiet moments. A few more images of the world Camus gave us. Algiers at peace. The sea resting, stars watching. The nursing home at Marengo probably still stands. Old people sleep there now, as Camus's mother's friends once did. As his mother once did. Life cycling through the same buildings. The streets of Belcourt still wind through Algiers. Children still run through them, probably. Poor kids finding joy in sun and play. Some might even become writers someday. And the beach, always the beach, waves rolling in now as they did then. Salt smell in the night air. Moon making a silver path across the dark water. Timeless. The spring still trickles by those rocks, probably. Where Meersalt stood that afternoon. Where everything changed. Water doesn't remember, just keeps flowing, down to the sea, into the dark. And the cell where we left Meersalt. Does it matter that it never existed? That he's only made of words? Fictional people can be more real than real ones sometimes. He is. Stories make us real in strange ways. When you think of Meersalt, he exists. When you wonder about his questions, they live. That's the magic. Words becoming worlds, readers becoming witnesses. So take Meersalt with you. His strange peace. His hard-won acceptance. His questions about authenticity. Let them become part of your thinking, or let them fade. Either way is fine. The context section ends here. What comes next is gentler still. Just images and peace. Just the slow drift towards sleep. Just a voice saying goodnight. Soon, very soon now. Nearly at the end. The story told. The context shared. Now just the gentle winding down. The soft drift toward wherever sleep takes you tonight. Meersalt found his peace in a prison cell. Facing execution. You'll find yours somewhere softer tonight. In your bed, in the dark, in the quiet after the story ends. The questions the book raised will wait until tomorrow. Or next week. Or never if you prefer. There's no exam, no performance required. Just rest now. That's enough. Somewhere in the world right now, the sun is rising over Algiers. Morning light touching white buildings. The harbor waking. But here, for you it's night. And night is for sleeping. The Mediterranean still hums its ancient rhythm. Waves in, waves out, has been doing that since before humans existed. Will continue long after. Let that rhythm be your lullaby. Out, out, like breath? Like the breath you're taking now. Slow it down if you like. Match it to imagined waves. Let your body remember the sea. Camus loved the sea. Swam in it almost daily. Said it washed away everything unnecessary. Tonight let the memory of water wash over you too, carrying away the day's weight. Whatever happened today, it's over now. Whatever happens tomorrow hasn't come yet. Right now, there's just this moment. This breath, this voice, this gentle drift toward rest. Meersalt learned to live in the present. In his cell waiting. Each moment was all he had. You have more than he did. But the lesson still applies. Now is enough. The stars Meersalt watched still shine. Different configurations now, perhaps. But the same light traveling the same darkness. Connecting his time to yours. His night to your night. Imagine Algiers sleeping now. Shutters closed. Streets empty. Cats moving through shadows. The city that made Camus resting under the same stars that watch over you. The nursing home at Marengo sleeps too. Old people in their beds. Someone's mother, someone's friend. Life cycling through as it always has. Nothing to do but rest. The beach where everything happened lies quiet under the moon. No violence now. Just sand and water and light. Even terrible places become peaceful when night falls. Everything rests eventually. And you too. Wherever you are. Whatever you carry, tonight you can set it down. The story is told. The hour is late. There's nothing more required of you. The world will still be there tomorrow. Its questions, its demands, its beautiful absurdity. But tomorrow is tomorrow's business. Tonight belongs to sleep. to the dark. Let your eyelids grow heavy if they want to. Let your body sink into wherever you're lying. Let your thoughts slow down like waves reaching shore. Gentle, natural. The story of the stranger will keep. Meersalt will wait in his cell forever, patient as fiction. The questions will still be questions tomorrow. Nothing is lost by sleeping now. Camus is at rest too, in his quiet grave. After all his questions, after all his words. Even philosophers sleep eventually. Even strangers find their peace. Even you. Think of the Mediterranean one more time. Dark water under dark sky. Silver path of moon leading nowhere in particular. Just beauty, just presence, just the ancient patient sea. That sea doesn't worry about meaning. Doesn't ask questions. Just moves with the moon's pull. You can be like that tonight. Just move with the pull towards sleep. No resistance needed. Meersalt accepted the indifferent universe. Found strange peace in it. You don't have to go that far. Just accept the indifferent night. It doesn't judge, just holds space for rest. Your breath slows. Or perhaps it's already slow, matching some rhythm you didn't choose. The body knows how to rest. Trust it. Let it carry you down into sleep. Somewhere far away, a new reader is just discovering Meersalt. Opening the book for the first time. You were there once too. Now you know. Now you can rest. The candle that was lit at the start of this story can be blown out now. Metaphorical candle. Real rest. The light dims, the words slow. The silence deepens. Thank you for listening this long. For staying with the strange, sad story. For letting Meersalt and Camus take up space in your evening. It meant something, this hour together. Whether you drifted or stayed awake, whether you caught every word or half of them, you were here. That's what matters. Presence. Attention. The gift of listening. Thank you. Tomorrow, if you remember anything, let it be this one man refused to lie about his feelings. And paid for it. And found peace anyway. That's a kind of courage. Or remember nothing specific. Just the feeling. The Mediterranean warmth. The existential questions. The strange comfort of a story about discomfort. Whatever stays, let it stay gently. The night deepens around you. The world sleeps. Even the restless find rest eventually. Even the strangers. Even you, especially you. You've earned this. This peace. Another night. Another story. Another journey through pages and time. But for now this story ends. This voice grows quiet. This company gently withdraws. Let the last images be peaceful ones. The sea at rest. The stars watching. Algiers sleeping under the moon. Meersalt at peace. Camus at rest, you drifting gently. The sun will rise tomorrow. It always does. Indifferent and beautiful. But that's tomorrow's sun. Tonight's darkness is kind. Holds you without asking anything. Rest in it. If you're still awake, that's fine. Sleep comes when it comes. If you're already drifting, that's perfect too. Either way, the story has done its work, carried you this far. The stranger ends with Meersalt opening himself to the gentle indifference of the world. You can open yourself too. To sleep. To silence. To whatever gentle indifference holds you tonight. Your room is quiet now. Or perhaps there are sounds you've stopped noticing. The hum of night. The breath of the house. Background music for sleep. Let it play. Tomorrow will bring whatever it brings. New suns, new questions, new stories perhaps. But all of that waits. Right now there's only this, the end of a story, the beginning of rest. So close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the images fade. Let Algiers fade. Let Meersalt fade. Let even my voice fade. Into the gentle dark, into sleep. Thank you for this hour. For being here. For listening to a story about a stranger who couldn't cry. May your sleep be deep. May your dreams be gentle. May you rest well. The story is complete. The Stranger by Albert Camus. Told here tonight for you. Now sleep, and know that when you wake, the sun will rise. As it always does, indifferent and beautiful. Good night, rest well. The world waits. The sea waits, the stories wait. But you can sleep now. Good night.